This week on the Watchman, we are on Israel's border with Syria for a live fire drill with the elite Hatsan paratrooper unit. You hear the gunfire behind me, you see the tanks. The brave soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces are preparing for the barbarians at the gates. Just over the border here in Syria, you have Iran, Hezbollah, ISIS, the Assad regime, some of the world's worst actors. And the brave soldiers here of the IDF are standing in the gap, not only for Israel, but for you and for Western civilization. It's the Watchman, it's Christians United for Israel, only right here on TBN from a live fire drill on the Israel-Syria border. We are here on the Israel-Syria border at a live fire drill with the Israel Defense Forces. We're here with Jonathan, platoon commander of the elite Hatsan paratrooper unit here in Israel. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us, first of all.
Thank you for coming.
So, Jonathan, it looks like you're prepared here with this drill to prepare not only for maybe urban warfare, but also in the open field, ambushes, a little bit of everything, right?
Right. Our enemy can catch us everywhere.
Yeah.
Not only in the close area, but in the wild. You can catch us in ambushes, like you said, and we need to be prepared for it.
Yeah. Now I see there's tanks here. Tell us a little bit, and you hear the live fire. Tell us a little bit about some of what's involved, some of the hardware, I guess you would say.
Yeah, it's a big drill where you have tanks, and you have our paratroopers, and you have some machinery that can blow up bombs and things.
Yeah.
And we combine it all in once, because we need to do it like we'll do in live action.
Yeah. And Jonathan, you said this is a kind of a bigger drill than usual, right? This is a pretty big one.
Yeah, we're closing now 3 months of drills, where we drill for any situation that we can meet our enemy with. This one involves all of the tanks and our soldiers that we set, and we have here buildings, and we have here boulders, and enemy, and our beautiful soldiers.
Yeah, and like you said, the enemy can pop out from anywhere. Now there's some serious threats here in the north. Think of Hezbollah, Iran. How do you prepare for what they're bringing, that kind of enemy? How do you really prepare for that?
First of all, you're learning their techniques, and you're trying to catch up for this, and you make your own the best.
So you need to prepare for anything.
Right? That's why we're doing a week for close combat, and a week for open field, and a week for something like that combines everything.
Yeah, and these are young guys, 18, 19, 20 years old, just so people don't understand. And they're learning, and these are long days of drilling, right? These are tough days. This is tough work in rugged terrain.
Right, right. It's cold in the nights, and it's warm in the days.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be raining right now.
Yeah, this is the rainy season in Israel. I guess the IDF, look, when you have threats on pretty much every border, whether it's Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, you have to prepare for anything, right? And you always have to be on guard. The IDF can never really take a break, right?
Right, we're now finishing our 3 months of training, and then we'll go to defend one of our borders. You know, it's maybe one day you're training, one day you're defending.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. You've got to be sharp.
Tell us more about your platoon, Hatsan Kanim. Tell us more about what you do, your history, and your specialties.
Yeah, our platoon, the Tzanchanim, I'm from the 202 unit. We have the 101 unit, and basically we're paratroopers, and it's our basic training. And then we train to go inside the enemy lines, and how you can survive there. We have our history of the Yoni Netanyahu if you heard of him.
Yeah, Yoni Netanyahu, brother of Prime Minister Netanyahu.
The Prime Minister. And he went inside of Entebbe to secure our refugee.
Yeah, and he was killed, the famous Entebbe raid, the bravery of, wow, that was your unit. That's pretty amazing. And I believe your unit was involved in the capture of Jerusalem in 1967 as well, right? Yeah, and folks, you can hear things are getting intense now, and this live fire drill's really picking up. So this unit has a really proud history.
It's a proud history. It's the Israeli history.
Yeah.
You know, it's
yeah,
in our blood.
Yeah, it's played a major part in Israel's modern history. How long have you been with this unit? How long have you been in the IDF now?
I'm in the IDF for 5 years right now. I'm looking for it.
And his parents, by the way, from the United States, I think you said, right?
Yeah.
To me, it seems like Israel's kind of the first line of defense for the West. Do you have anything to say to a Western audience?
You know, Israel defends, first of all, their own citizens. But we are the Western civilization, and we are friends of everyone. And it's our country. People need to know it, and we're here to stay.
Yeah, that's right. And literally, the barbarians are literally at the gates right here. And Israel, the brave soldiers of the IDF like Jonathan, are all that's holding them back. So I think we're going to take a look around a little bit more at this live fire drill. You got to go soon, I know. You're a busy man. But we'll take a little bit more of a look around with Jonathan, platoon commander of the Hatsan Kanim elite IDF paratrooper unit. Folks, as you heard from Jonathan, the platoon commander, the IDF has to be prepared for anything. Right now, we are in the middle of that live fire drill. We're just maybe 3 miles from the Israel-Syria border where the barbarians live and breathe, whether it's Iran, Hezbollah, ISIS, other jihadist groups that are sworn enemies not only of Israel, but of America and the West. So really, Israeli soldiers in this live fire drill, and by the way, this is a huge drill, a very important drill going on right now up north. The Israeli soldiers who are drilling here right now and training with live fire are standing in the gap not only for the people of Israel, but for you, for the West, and for the world. The barbarians are at the gates, as I said, and all that's holding them back, quite literally, the first line of defense are these Israeli soldiers that you see around me right now. Again, a very involved drill. We have kind of replica homes here and buildings, I should say, not homes, where, look, a terrorist could jump out with a gun and start firing. The IDF in this live fire drill is preparing for ambushes. They're preparing for terror attacks, not only urban warfare, but also kind of open field, larger scale tank warfare. You probably hear some of the tanks rolling by here. You hear the artillery and the live fire. Basically, as our platoon commander, Jonathan, who you just saw, as he said, the IDF has to be prepared for anything. They've literally faced every kind of warfare you can imagine on every border of this tiny country. And remember, Israel is the size of the state of New Jersey. Imagine that. Israel is a tiny country with very explosive borders, to say the least. So really the threats are multifaceted, whether it's Iran, Hezbollah, who are determined, by the way, to establish a foothold and a beachhead right here on the Golan Heights. For the IDF, for Israel, that is a red line that they will not stand for. That's just one of the many threats that Israel's training for in this live fire drill. We're in the middle of it. It's loud. And look, these guys are out all day. It's hot during the day. It's cold during the night. These are tough conditions. It's a gritty place. Tough stuff for these Israeli soldiers, but they have to do it. They have no choice. So we're very privileged and we're very appreciative that the Israeli Defense Forces led us in the middle of this drill, and we'll have more after the break. Don't move. Up next, see how one courageous Christian relief organization is risking everything to save lives in the world's bloodiest conflict zone, Syria. Folks, this is an inspiring story that you will not want to miss. Don't move.
Last year, 5,000 Christians attended the CUFI Washington, D.C. Summit. The 2017 summit was our most power-packed gathering in history. Top leaders and foreign policy experts from Israel and America agreed on two things. Our two countries are stronger together, and Christians United for Israel plays a major role in keeping that relationship strong.
Through Christians United for Israel, more than 3.3 million believers raised their voices, have not been silent in support of Israel. And you can be heard in every city and town across America and in every office on Capitol Hill. And rest assured, the man down the street at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue hears you too.
That was 2017. Now get ready for bigger, better things at the 2018 summit as CUFI celebrates Israel at 70. Make sure the world hears your voice. Where will you be in July 2018? Register now.
Welcome back. Over 500,000 people have been killed since the Syrian civil war broke out in 2011. That includes countless women and children. Syria may just be the most dangerous place on earth. But one Christian relief organization is going where few people dare to tread, right into the heart of the Syrian civil war. Frontier Alliance International is not only bringing crucial medical aid and supplies to desperate Syrians, they're showing them firsthand the love of Jesus. Let's head back to the Israeli-Syrian border to hear their story.
In 2011, we started FAI and we began to pioneer the organization by prioritizing regions in turmoil. Now, the reason for that was manifold, but one of the primary reasons was these places, apart from being the most unreached and unengaged regions in the world from a missiological perspective, from a gospel disciple-making perspective, on top of that, these are the places of the world that are notoriously overlooked or even avoided by the church and mission organizations in general.
Look, you started in Iraq, in the ashes of ISIS, and you spent time there. Before you came here to Syria, talk a little bit about your experience in Iraq and what brought you to Syria in particular.
When we saw the beginning stages of the Syrian revolution, I knew that the birth of the organization was really about Syria. And so for the last number of years, we've been living and pioneering in pretty much every country around Syria, just not inside Syria. We've not been working inside Syria until 2017. And we've been laboring in prayer, Lord, open up a door for us. And so we were living in Turkey, we were living in Iraq, and we've been ministering throughout the ISIS years. When Fallujah fell, when Mosul fell, we began focusing on Iraq, in particular in the Kurdish world. But my heart was burdened for Syria. And so as the years barreled on, we labored in prayer, Lord, open up a door for Syria. And it was so surprising that the door to Syria opened up through the Israeli side in partnership with the IDF. It's an incredible story.
Yeah, well, unfold that story for us a little bit. So this door opens with the IDF, and all of a sudden your teams at FAI are crossing over into the hottest hotspot, the most dangerous place on earth, Syria. How did that all go down?
I got connected with Marco at the beginning of 2017, had a phone call, and he said, do you want to work in Syria? I said, yes, we've been praying for this for years. So I came for a meeting with Marco, I came for a meeting with the IDF, and I realized if we want it, the door is open. These everlasting doors are open. So we did the Psalm 24 thing and said, open up everlasting doors. And this summer we put the first teams inside. And it was an amazing, breathtaking experience to watch, to imagine the scene. I mean, imagine the scene, the middle of the night, the Israeli army focusing on this hostile border, opening up the fence for a Christian mission organization to walk through the fence, to go plant their lives, long-term, full-time, to move there. We're not doing short-term coming and going. They're moving into these communities in Syria to serve them through thick and thin, hell or high water. They're there to serve long-term. And so it's been an amazing, incredible experience to watch this, let's call it a relational triangle between the IDF, between Syrians on the other side, and between FAI. It's been this dynamic relationship between these three parties that has really, I think it's changing the course of history on both sides of the border fence.
And Dalton, I think that's a testament to what FAI is all about. Look, where most people are praying to get out of Syria, you guys are praying to get into Syria. Once you are there, tell us some of the things you have seen and your team has experienced and the work you're doing.
You're exactly right. It's when State Departments and ambassadors leave is when the church needs to be engaging and entering into it. Because this is our opportunity to give the most meaningful engagement, is when the rest of the world evacuates. And not in a bombastic, heroic, carnal way, but in a legitimate way that says to someone, you and your children matter. And that's essentially what we're saying to the next generation of Syrians is, you matter, your kids matter. And if you guys can live through this, we can live through this with you. We want to walk through this fire with you. We want to serve you, because that's what Jesus does. He walks with us through fire. Not only did he bleed on a cross for us, but he walks with us through fire. And I think that's, it's not just a message. We have to demonstrate it and to display it to Syrians. And the impact of it is absolutely incalculable. Think of it from the perspective of a Syrian in one of these villages. If I named any of the villages along the border here, no one would recognize the names of them. We all know Damascus, Aleppo, but we don't know the names of these little villages. And they feel that. They feel alone, forgotten, marginalized, that no one cares about.
Surrounded by the bad guys.
Totally. And then when their great epic enemy comes to them and says, hey, the Israelis opened the door for us to come here to bless you. Do you receive us? They go, yeah, of course we receive you, because everyone else has forgotten us and avoided us. Why are you here? And the impact of being on the ground, you know, we use the language of the ministry of presence. Being present, the impact of that can't be calculated. Because when you're present on the worst day of someone's life, the impact of that is just, it's astronomical in terms of what it is on a psychological and emotional and a spiritual level. It's powerful. Israel has fostered and nurtured this relationship between Christians and Sunni Muslims inside Syria. That is just unprecedented.
Folks, the work Dalton and the team at Frontier Alliance International are doing is brave and inspiring. After the break, we'll hear from a former high-ranking Israeli intelligence officer who's formed an incredible pairing with Dalton and who really helped to spearhead the IDF's assistance to Syrians fleeing from all that bloodshed. Stick around to hear his amazing story. It's the Watchman. It's Christians united for Israel, only right here on TBN. The Bible is clear. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob made an everlasting covenant with the land and the people of Israel. They are the apple of his eye. But Israel faces enemies on all sides who want to annihilate every Jewish man, woman, and child.
God gave us a voice and a responsibility, a biblical mandate to bless Israel and to speak up for Zion's sake. Find out how and when you can order my free book, Why Christians Should Support Israel. It will teach you the Bible facts of the power and prosperity of God that comes to you when you read this text.
You'll learn why Israel has a biblical and historic claim to the land. Call Christians United for Israel at the number on your screen or go to cufi.org/book and we'll send you your free book from Pastor John Hagee. If you won't speak up for Israel, who will? Welcome back. Lieutenant Colonel Marco Moreno is a former senior intelligence officer in the Israel Defense Forces and an expert on the threats coming from Israel's northern border. But there is another side to this warrior's work. During his time in the IDF, he established a field hospital for wounded Syrians fleeing over the border and into Israel. But his work didn't stop when he retired from the IDF. It was only just beginning. He's formed an incredible partnership with Christians to bring help to some of the world's most desperate people. Take a look. You're an expert on Islam, on the Arab world, on the Middle East. It's an area you know very well, years in the IDF, top officer. But there's another side to the story. Tell us about Operation Good Neighbor, how it started, how you were involved, and what it is.
We took the binoculars and we saw hundreds of groups, armed group. Who is who? What are their intentions towards Israel? We decided to approach in another way to the locals here in the Quneitra region. We offered them humanitarian aid by supplying them medicine, food, and bringing them to Israeli hospital to get medical treatment. What's going on in Syria, people need to understand it's a genocide. It's the dangerous place on earth, Syria. Everything is happening. Children are getting butchered on a daily basis over there.
Talk also, though, Marco, about Operation Good Neighbor. Again, you didn't have to do this. The IDF didn't have to do this. There's needy people at your doorstep from an enemy nation next door. You didn't have to do this. Yeah. How's that keeping with Israeli and Jewish values in a sense?
First of all, we have to remember that we could solve this situation in another way, in a military way. You know, this revolution started not because of us, it's their thing. We have a security fence, we have posts, we can, you know, say whoever will approach our border, we will do our thing. But we decided to go in another way of mercy and love and compassion for those victims. You have to understand that the Israeli soldiers are risking their life on a daily basis, going to the border, taking the Syrian into Israeli hospital, and then taking them back home safe.
Yeah. And Marco, it's a dangerous thing. As you and I have been talking here the past few minutes, we've heard gunfire not too far away on the Syrian side. The conflict continues. The mercy, the compassion you're talking about brings me to Frontier Alliance International, FAI for short, a great Christian group, a Christian aid group, I guess you would say. Talk about, it's a fascinating story. Talk about how you got to know FAI and the work they're doing in Syria, courageous work.
Yes, FAI were working in Iraq before they came to Syria. And they came here to Israel and wanted to go engage the Syrian thing. And so we started to send in medical staff, doctors, nurses, paramedics, everything, inside Syria, on the ground, in a war zone, under very bad conditions, helping the locals. For me as a warrior, it was very interesting as an experience to meet another kind of a warrior. Yeah. A warrior that doesn't carry a gun. He carries a Bible. And with pure heart and a lot of faith, willing to risk themselves. Remember, our teams are young boys and girls, the age of 20, 25, without any military experience, going into a war zone, can be killed every day. Sleeping on the ground, eating bad food, getting a shower in cold water. People need to understand it's not a resort here. Yeah. But they're doing it because they have faith. They love Israel, they bless Israel, they serve Jesus, and they want to love the Muslim. We want to show the Muslims that Jews and Christians are very, human beings.
Yeah, and these are people who are coming, FAI in the middle of the night, Marco, as you said, on mules, crossing into the most dangerous war zone on the planet. Says a lot. And there's actually the only group, I believe, or one of the only groups at least, with actual, as you said, boots on the ground inside Syria treating people.
FAI is the only NGO existing on earth working inside Syria through the Israeli-Syrian border.
That's pretty impressive. And the IDF has taken notice, right, of what FAI is doing?
For sure, for sure. I pretty much know that the IDF is really appreciated what's going on with FAI because they know they're not soldiers. Yeah. And they see the same things that I see. These young people going inside and helping. And in a way, helping Israel to achieve her goals by gaining the hearts of mind of people in the Quneitra region. Because if a child will not go to school, he will go to the mosque. He will go to the mosque, he will hear the imam say, hey, you need to blow up yourself in New York, in Times Square. But he will say, no, it's wrong because I know Christians and Jews, they are good people. They helped me when I needed it.
You know, it's incredible to see how God is raising people like Marco up to shine a light in the darkness. You can find out more about Frontier Alliance International and the work they're doing in Syria by visiting their website, which you see there on your screen. Well, up next, my final thoughts featuring some more sights and sounds from that Israel Defense Forces live fire drill on the Golan Heights. Stick around.
With over 3.5 million members, Christians United for Israel is the largest pro-Israel organization in America. And for Zion's sake, we will not remain silent. We won't stand for the lies and political attacks that threaten Israel's safety and the future of the Jewish people in their God-given homeland. We want you to join us in this sacred movement.
The Jewish people are not alone. Christians United for Israel, I want to thank you for standing up for Israel. I want to thank you for standing up and being counted. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Israel needs you to take a stand. Join Christians United for Israel. Make your voice heard and be remembered as a defender of Israel, the apple of God's eye.
And welcome back. Folks, it was quite an experience to be in the middle of a very big and very loud live fire drill with the Israel Defense Forces on the Golan Heights recently. Before we go, we just wanted to show you a few more of those sights and sounds from the IDF. In the book of Psalms, chapter 60, verse 12, King David wrote, "Through God we shall do valiantly, and it is He who will tread down our enemies." That truth still stands today. The Israel Defense Forces are watchmen and women for God's land and for the West. And our team at Christians United for Israel has their back. We are America's largest pro-Israel organization with close to 4 million members, and we're growing every day. You see the website and the phone number there on your screen, so join us. Join this mighty movement of God for such a time as this. Well, thanks for joining us this week on The Watchman. Until next time, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.